Okay, welcome to the Scoop Podcast with your host Serp. All Madden Gaming. Season 1 is here. We've already started. We are currently in probably the end of week 2. There's a few games left, I being one of them. But all 4 since the last podcast actually wasn't even that far long ago, and that's what tells you how quickly we're moving along here and everybody's excitement to play their games. Since the last podcast couldn't have been more than a week ago, I think it was Sunday, because I'm dropping them every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. There will be a podcast here for you. We've already done all 4 preseason games. Week 1 is done. Week 2 is almost done. And then last week the podcast was just kind of an introduction, let you know some of the things I'll be going over. It was a little brief. I'm still getting my feet wet a little bit here, but I mean, as always, I like to go over standings. Lets everybody know, where the team's at, who's leading the division. That stuff can change fairly fast. Now, it's only, like I said, about the end of week 2. So, the people that might be 2-0 now could be 2-2, 2 games from now. I mean, the things are going to change pretty fast, but I still think going over the standings, number 1 every week, is fun for me, and it keeps everybody kind of knowing like what teams are going up, what teams maybe are you more interested in looking at, talking about, the players on them, etc. And then also some of the statistical leaders, because a team might be doing bad, but you might have some great players on it, or the team's doing well and you got great players, which would make sense. The trades I don't have this week. I won't have the link until later, but next week I'm going to absolutely start the trade talk segment where I go over one trade, and we go into it. How was it? Who won it? First of all, how did it benefit, or how did it? Was it a non-benefit for each team? Was it even? Did somebody win? Etc. The trades are pretty fun, and let's everybody out there know where these players are ending up around the league, because obviously teams aren't going to be looking the same as you would imagine because of trades, free agencies, injuries. We're going to go over some of the injuries just really quickly. I'm just going to kind of scan through them, and we're going to look for ones that may impact the team. Just stuff to know. Especially if you're going to be doing a pick'em or something like that, you'd want to know, hey, okay, well, this team is way better than this team, but so-and-so's injured, so-and-so's not playing well, this other player on the other team that you wouldn't have even imagined is playing amazingly. So a lot of stuff to go in there. And again, if you've got Twitter, and everybody pretty much does, at All Madden Gaming, we'll keep you in the loop of pretty much everything. As you have all 32 teams tweeting about, upcoming games, players that did well, free agent signings, but you're going to get a lot more of that, though, I think, from the insiders. So we have all of our insiders out there that report on all the teams and things that are going around, and give their own opinions, etc. But at All Madden Gaming on Twitter, and then, of course, the Twitch is All Madden Gaming CFM. So with that said, I'm going to jump on in and start taking a look at some stuff. Right now, forget that page. So this is daddyleagues.com/AMG. And this is what I'm going to use quite often because it keeps track of almost everything you would want. I will switch over sometimes to the actual console here just so we can get a better look at some of the stats and especially injuries. Some things are just easier to look at this way as opposed to this way. So kicking everything off is always going to be the standings. I always like to know, who's leading the divisions, who's doing well in the divisions, and then on the way down, who's the last in the division. And hopefully it's not me. And you also get some of the good offensive, defensive players of the week. Now you can obviously go in. If you're really interested, daddyleagues.com/AMG. Check all this out. But for those who just, there's obviously a visual aspect. This is more of an audio podcast, but I figured to add some visual to it. Disclaimer: yes, I did move my whole entire streaming setup to my basement. It's gigantic. I have a lot of room, but I'm not finished setting it up yet, so I'm going to be looking at get a green screen or some tapestries or something a little bit better for you to look at in the background, but it is what it is at this point. It's nice and comfy down here, and here we are. So we'll start off with the AFC East. New York Jets 2-0. not surprising to me. New England Patriots 1-0. They haven't played their second game yet. Miami Dolphins 1-1, and the Bills are 0-2. And you would think the Bills, too, realistically, are one of the better teams in that division. So that's a little bit of a strange one to me there. AFC West, Los Angeles Chargers 1-0. They didn't play their second. Kansas City Chiefs 1-0. Didn't play the second. Denver Broncos 1-0. So we still got some games left. And the Raiders 0-2. So they're sitting at the bottom. They did play both of them games. Unfortunately, they were both losses. So yeah, the league is just very, very at the beginning. Super exciting. You're going to get to follow it through from season 1 until forever. Baltimore Ravens 2-0. Not surprising there. Pittsburgh Steelers 1-0. Browns 0-1. Bengals 0-1. Colts 2-0. I know they did very well. I think it was them. And we'll look when we switch over to Council. I think he had like 300 and some rushing yards. I think that was the Colts. Jacksonville Jaguars 0-1. Titans 0-1. Texans 0-2. So, you know, it looks like Ravens, Colts, and the Jets in the AFC East are going to be one of the ones to watch for. You know, one of those, the Colts, the Ravens, or the Jets. Now, it's really early, of course, but I could absolutely see one of them taking that conference. Switching over to the NFC, we've got the football team 1-0. The Eagles 1-1. New York Giants 1-1. Dallas Cowboys 0-2 for the Dallas Cowboys. So, a little surprising there. They actually played the first all Madden Gaming television... all Madden Gaming TV Twitch stream commentated by Bomber was yesterday, and it was the Falcons and the Cowboys, and that was a good game to watch. The Cowboys you actually thought were done for at the beginning, then they slowly came back, and there were some questionable decisions as far as punting and going for it. With I think three and a half some minutes left, and they were down a bit, but not enough to where they needed to. And they were at like the 4 or the 5 or the 6 yard line on their side, so they had a long way to go. And I think punting it would have been a better idea. That's just my 2 cents. But if you wanted to watch that, you could check out the again, All Madden Gaming CFM is a Twitch channel. Go check out the broadcast. So moving on, Arizona Cardinals 1-0. That's me. Good for them. That's who we want to win, right? Los Angeles Rams 1-1. I'm kind of scared of them. Seattle Seahawks 0-1. Niners 0-2. The Niners is who we played the first week. Green Bay Packers 2-0. Detroit Lions 1-1. Vikings 0-2. Bears 0-2. Carolina Panthers 2-0. Atlanta Falcons 2-0. So they got a nice NFC South going on there. The Bucks 1-1 and the Saints 1-1. So Panthers are stacked. I see them going pretty far. Falcons, just from watching them play, actually both games. I think they streamed the first one just for anybody to watch. I think I caught some of that, and then the second one that was broadcast, they're playing very well. So Packers, yeah, I like that. So yeah, Packers, Panthers, Falcons. I mean, you know, it's an early kind of look at maybe the NFC conference there. So, so standings. So there we are. So now we know AFC, NFC, who's kind of on top, who's looking like they may lead the conferences, in that aspect anyway. So let's go into the statistical leaders, just some of the ones that come up on Daddy Legs. Tom Brady, 59 out of 80. How does this guy have 80 attempts? I mean, obviously played both games, but you're averaging 40 attempts, so they are pass heavy. They are absolutely have to be pass heavy. 80 attempts. Blew the next person out by, 1.5 almost. By, you know, that's 150%. Then you got Matt Stafford. Obviously, we knew he was going to be passing. 722 yards, 4 touchdowns. Pretty close to Tom Brady, considering how many more completions and attempts. So Tom Brady's throwing, I mean, he's got to be throwing some good ones, but I mean, is there a lot of slants and drags in there, outs? So we got, anyway, the 5 big names so far: Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins. That's one I didn't expect to see up there. Teddy Bridgewater and Aaron Rodgers. And all of those 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, and all within the 6.5 to 7.5, 650 to 750 range as far as yards, except for Tom Brady, who's really standing out as far as a passing MVP. Now, we don't have his quarterback rating and how many interceptions there were, so keep that in mind, because when we flip over to the console here and take a look at some few things, we're going to compare that now to how many interceptions, etc. So, I mean, that plays a big part. You might have 842 yards, 5 touchdowns, and lost every game and have 14 interceptions. I mean, who knows? I don't assume that to be the case, but we've got to keep that in mind. So, rushing, Jonathan Taylor, that's who I was talking about. Let's go in here a little bit. Yes, Colts. Jonathan Taylor, Colts. How many did he have that last game? 354 yards rushing, breaking records, and 4 touchdowns. Just destroyed any kind of record that was ever held by anyone ever. So good for him. I mean, somebody's got to do either the offensive line is amazing, or the defensive front 7 for the opposing team, which was, hold on, let me see what team, so we can take a dump on them. That was Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings. They got to get it together over there. I mean, I could see 200 yards. I mean, you got to have a bad day. Linebackers and lines getting no push. The linebackers are getting broke. The safeties aren't even helping. But I mean, 350 some yards. You're gonna have to really look at getting some big bodies into that front 7. Maybe some defensive tackle, defensive ends. I don't know. I haven't looked at their team fully, but wow, that's crazy. So now he is just busting things up. 51 attempts though too. I mean. So here we've got the opposite of Tom Brady. We got Tom Brady on one hand for passing. We got Jonathan Taylor, 51 attempts on the other hand. 9.9 average and 5 touchdowns. That's insane. Cam Akers doing well, 8.9. Saquon Barkley, of course. It's kind of a popular name you'd see up there, 7.5. Leonard Fournette, 5.9. Josh Jacobs, 7.0. Brashad Perryman. Okay, so now let's go into receiving. Brashad Perryman was just traded. Actually, he is now a Saint. I really like Brashad Perryman. His speed and athleticism, I mean, he's very, very good. Has some problems in the catching game, from what I was aware of from previously him being with the New York Jets. But I mean, the speed, the athleticism, you just can't. You can't. I mean, even if there's a little problem in the catching game that can be worked on, he's going to be a very good receiver for the Saints. So good for them. Good trade. And it is, I don't know the exact what went into that trade, what the trade actually was, but that'll be next episode here, episode 3 of the podcast. We'll definitely have a list of all the trades, and we'll be going through one of them every podcast. We'll have a trade segment because there's a lot. There's always a lot of trading. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of free agency. There's a lot of internal workings that go on here besides just the games and the players and the stats. There's a lot of negotiating. There's a lot of salary, a lot of contracts. I mean, there's tons of stuff that's going on. So Brashad Perryman, 317 yards on only 8 receptions, 3 touchdowns. DJ Moore, of course. Devontae Adams, of course. Adam Thielen, okay, and Antonio Brown. All players that you would expect to see up there. So that's offensively some of the leaders. And then we have defensively, we've got the tackles. Eli Apple, he's all over the place. 11 tackles. Troy Apke, 9. 3 interceptions. Where did those come from? Let's just take a little. I just want a little. 3 interceptions. They all came playing the Raiders. So that would absolutely say why the Raiders are 0-2 at this point. None versus Tampa Bay. That was actually a pretty good game there. But it looks like they just defensively just stepped on the Raiders. Patrick Queen, 9 tackles. Kendall Sheffield, 8 sacks. Xavier Howard. Most of these names that you would expect to be up there. Defensively, as far as sacks go, Marlon Davidson, 3 sacks, 4 tackles, and a forced fumble. Rashawn Gary, 3 sacks, 3 tackles, 2 forced fumbles. Chris Jones, 3 sacks. Quinnen Williams, another good one for the Jets, I think. Is he still with the Jets? Yeah. Really good young end there. Sean Murphy-Bunting, too. Okay, so... and then here again, Troy Apke. So we're looking at Troy. We're looking at Troy right here. I mean, and he's still all over the place with them tackles and interceptions. So, I mean, definitely good. Definitely a good player. Good free safety for the Panthers. Richard Sherman, 2 interceptions. Desmond King, 2 interceptions. Jane Bradbury, 2 interceptions. I would imagine there's a long list of people with 2 interceptions. And these are just the ones that, as the season's so new, we need a little bit of time for people to break away and start stepping away from the pack. Some of these, though, as far as the offensively, I could see really, it makes sense. Jonathan Taylor, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Cam Akers, Brashad Perryman, DJ Moore. These are ones that have already stepped away within 2 weeks. So Yeah, not bad there. Not bad there. We're going to switch over really quickly to the console, and I just wanted to look at a few things over here as far as injuries. I haven't got to look at them yet. I mean, there's a lot of things going on here all the time. So sometimes it's just don't look at my stuff. If you're just listening, that's okay. I'm just switching through some. I'm switching through just to get to where the injury report is. If you're visually seeing it, well, you get to see stuff. So let's just run through. See what we got. So we're just gonna go really quick. So, okay, Bengals. Do we care about Bobby Hart? He's injured. It's only for a week. He's not somebody that we would care about injury. I'm just looking for big time injuries that would tell us, hey, are these people going to have some problems? I mean, are we going to have to sign somebody? Are we going to have to make a trade? Laquan Treadwell for the Falcons, wide receiver, 25, nope. 65, nope. Spencer Pulley, nope. I haven't heard of any, really. Matt Paradis. I mean, he's 30 years old already, the center for the Panthers. It doesn't seem like it's really harming them. I mean, he's 30 years old already, but he's out for 5 weeks with some broken ribs, so that could really take a shot to the line. Now, as I think that the center going to be out, he's a good center. I mean, he's a very good center. But do I think that him going to be out is going to affect the Panthers? Maybe the extra yard, I don't know, maybe on a run play or something that they really need, maybe they won't get it for some reason. But I think they're going to do just fine without Paradise. But he comes back in 5. He's not an injured reserve or nothing like that. He'll be back in 5. He's got broken ribs. You got Isaiah Winn for the Patriots. 24-year-old left tackle. Very nice. A very good left tackle, too. Isaiah Winn, 24 years old. Went out with a torn labrum. He's going to be out for 4. So that could hurt. I mean, that could really hurt. I mean, that's your pass blocking side. I mean, that's where... if I'm playing you, that's where Chandler Jones is coming in. You know what I mean? You gotta, that's gotta be shored up. So, I don't think there was any moves or anything like that as far as maybe signing a free agent or sliding somebody else over there to that end. But again, that's going to be one of those things that we will get to kind of look into when I go over free agents and some of the new segments that are going to be coming. So the show is definitely going to develop and have more segments added into it over time. And one of them going to be the trade talk again starting next week. So not good for the Patriots. And that looks like that is about it. Looks like the Vikings, what do they got here? Oh, man, Eric Kendricks out. And, well, not abdominal tear, 2 weeks. He'll probably be able to come back a week early if they allow him. I don't know if I would do that. I've been bit with that before, having players that have been hurt, but said they're all right. Oh, I'm okay. I can play. I'm just a little sore. Throw me in. I'll still be better than what your second option would be. And you throw them in, and now they ripped it. Now the whole abdominal is just ripped, wide open or tore. And you're screwed. Now you're out for 6. So that's definitely put a big shot to the. Now I wonder if that you would have to think. Now remember, I think the Colts. He ran that 350 some odd yards against the Vikings. So your middle linebacker Eric Kendricks, if he was out before that or at some point during that game, that would make sense. I mean, it still would. You still your front 4 or 3, whatever you got, a 3-4, whatever. That whole front there still has to just totally break down time and time again. And your safeties just have to be just totally getting blocked up in the secondary for somebody to get that many yards on you. But that's a pretty good reason why. So that is the injuries, and I just want to check out a few more stats here just to see who's leading offensively. Looks like we've got, the Buccaneers are just on top. But, a lot of people haven't played their second game yet, but it looks like offensively, passing-wise, who you're going to look out, who's the deep threats, who's passing all over the place. You've got the Buccaneers, which they have Tom Brady. You've got the Vikings are throwing it up there with no rushing. The Lions, the Panthers, the Packers, the Saints, Jets. Yeah, so it all makes sense. I mean, that makes sense to me. The Bucks, the Vikings, Lions, Panthers, Packers, Saints, and then Jets, and then you kind of start to fall off a little bit. But I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Rushing, Colts, obviously. Rams, sure. Giants, Niners, they got Mostert. And the rest is just kind of all... Really nothing that stands out of the pack yet. Defensively, pass defense. Well, it looks like the football team, the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Patriots are all doing well. Now, they've only played one game, but even for one game, that's pretty good. And in here, the Chargers. Look at the rush defense. Chargers, football team, Buccaneers, Bengals. But, a lot of them played teams that are so pass heavy that there is no rushing anyway. So it's not necessarily a sign of them being poor, very, very good rush defense. It could be just because they just got passed all over. So, and I really wanted to go back and look just at the Tom Brady, just some of the top passing individuals. Let's go NFL. AMG. So Tom Brady, like I said, 5, and not as bad as I thought. So 5 touchdowns, 842 yards, and only 3 interceptions. I mean, in 2 games, that's still quite a bit. You don't want that many. I mean, I think I have as much. 112.6 rating, though, only been sacked 3 times, and he played 2 games. So all of these players up here have played both as 2 games. 117 downs. So that tells you they just had absolute control of that game, and that's why there's so many attempts, is because it must have been just interceptions right back to them, or 3 and outs for the other team, because they had the ball the entire game, both games. The next person down would have been Matt Stafford, and I know they do a pretty good job controlling the game, keeping the ball on their side, controlling the clock, having more plays than the other team. They've only got 80 in 2. This guy's got 117 downs played in 2 games. I'm surprised Tom Brady is not, taking a break, taking a day off or something. Everything is kicked off. There's a little bit as far as the statistics would go. Some of the standings, so everybody kind of knows what teams are kind of starting to pull away, who's doing well, who's not doing so well so far at the beginning. A lot of statistical leaders. That word is just rough for me sometimes. I don't know why. And it may be a little bit more in depth as to some of them. Some of my take on kind of why some games are the way they were. Players to watch and all of that good stuff. So I try to, without the segment that I want as far as the trade talk being able to be done this time, I think that's where we're going to shut it down. But next time, I would imagine these podcasts are going to be a little bit longer. I think we went for about 22 minutes right now. I'm trying to stay around a half hour. If I do go a little bit more and you're still listening, that's awesome. If I do go a little bit more and you've had enough of me, shut me off, that's fine. But I'm thinking, 30 minutes or so is the minimum amount of time that I'm going to need to get across, at least the standings, statistics, some of the players to watch, some of the injuries that might be out there. I mean, that's going to take me a good 20 minutes just to kind of get that first part done. And then we'll go into some of the more special segments, I guess you want to call them, like the trade talk and other things that we might be adding on to it. So that's been episode 2. Of the Scoop podcast for All Madden Gaming. This has been Serp, and thanks for listening and or watching.